kick in after I've demonstrated. We then get the riders to come up one at a time, and when I point at the rider and say, right, your turn next, that is generally when they go quiet. Yeah, because they might be a little bit full of bravado and yeah, this is great, can't wait, yeah, I'm going to get out there. But the moment I turn around and go, right, your turn, suddenly lips go a bit dry, and they shut up, and so you're talking through them, you're talking with them all the time, and we've set the first bike they get on, we've put the idle up really, really high, basically to try and prevent any stalling.
Yes.
That was a problem that we have had in the past. I mean, I've done it. I've stalled the bike. I've come to a stop and I've tipped over.
Yes, because your launch team is now 10 feet behind you, aren't they?
So when we do launch for the very first time, so the idle's up, they've already, we get them before they release to feel where the bite is of the clutch, the biting point. So they're sort of, pushing forward against the launch crew that's holding them there. And then, because there's 3 people in the launch crew, one stands either side, and obviously you've got the one at the back, and then as they set off for the first time, everybody jogs alongside the bike just in case there's an issue. What we are going to develop is a set of, like landing legs, a frame that very quickly can be bolted onto the side of the bike that will allow you to ride it, but should you stall it, it won't allow it to completely tip over.
Right.
So it'll have the casters on it. So, but that's it. Those are really for people who haven't been on a bike for maybe 30 years, or those people that have never ridden a bike, because that's where we want to go. We want to offer the experience to people who have never ridden a motorbike.
I think that's one of the aspects of the bike experience that really struck me, is because it's not just about getting ex-bikers back on bikes. This is about offering the experience of motorcycling, which we, as experienced motorcyclists, have learned, known all our lives. I mean, I've been biking 30 years, but I know there are people who've never ever had that, and I would imagine there are a great many wheelchair users who would think, God, I would have loved to have gone on a motorbike.
Yeah, so
and think I'll never be able to do that.
Well, we're going to look and see exactly how we can take people who've never been on a bike all the way through. One of the chaps that came along, he had polio, and he'd ridden a bike 15 years ago, and that had been a moped.
Right.
And we got him riding an SV650. And, that was quite tough because of the clutch control. So that's why we don't have unlimited funds. That's the thing. Last year it was supported by a few donations made by riders, because we don't charge anyone anything to come. And it was basically me robbing all my savings to buy the bikes, to buy the adaptions.
That is quite a commitment, but I guess when you're passionate about something, you tend not to think about the money. Let's take a break there. We'll have more from my very special guest, Talent Skills Piggins of the Bike Experience, right after this. Welcome back to BikerFM.co.uk. You're listening to me, Roger Tewson, and my very special guest, Talent Skills Piggins of the Bike Experience. Now, before the break, we were just starting to talk about the funding and so on and so forth of the Bike Experience. Now, it's been quite a struggle for you, hasn't it, to get this thing set up?
Yeah, it's not been the easiest of tasks. We were initially going to be supported by a company. Now, this was brilliant. They were going to give us £500 a month, which meant that we hit the magic £5,000 mark in order to gain charity status. Now, suddenly, January came and there was no payment. February came, there was no payment. March came, there was no payment. And this money was all to get the bikes up and running that we were going to use to teach with. Then finally, 1 week prior to the very first bike experience, they contacted me and told me that they weren't going to be able to give me any money, be able to sponsor the bike experience. And then in the same breath told me that the company director was still a man of his word and that he would support us. It was like, well, you're not, because you're taking away all your money. And because we didn't have that secured income, we couldn't apply for charitable status. And there are lots of different places you can get money, but you need a charity number for so much of it. So basically, last year was funded by the donations that some riders made, my savings, and then gradually as we became sort of a little bit more known and we had a few pieces in the media, then other people started to come and join us. So Metzler, they were able to supply us with tyres and give us tyres at cost price, which was, a fantastic start. We then had people donating leathers, which was great, but they weren't in the most sort of, they didn't smell very nice. Yeah. So then,
not particularly salubrious.
They're a little bit whiffy. Let's put it that way. Then Shoppers Leathers came in and said, "We will clean all your leathers for free." It's like, fantastic. Then we wanted to try and sort of raise some money, so we want T-shirts made. So Lemonade Screen Printing, they came up with some T-shirts, and now they do us a good deal for those, so we can advertise, and it's sort of starting to get out there. Castle Clune have let us use the track at lunchtime for free, and that's been a total godsend.
That's
fantastic, and they are overwhelmed at how it has grown from just one bike to 4 bikes. We also now got links with Odeon Motorcycle Club, and we are able to go along and be part of their airfield riding day for the 3 days that they have at RAF Odeon, which is, it's still an operational Chinook air base. We have had support from Shop Coolness. He was the company director, saw us in Motorcycle News and said, look, that's it, you can get consumables, and again, fantastic support. I mean, it's not the big things, but it's the little things that all seem to start to mount up that cost a lot of money. So oil, chains, filters, plugs. Suddenly, if you're running these bikes, you've got to make sure these bikes are running, because if they break down and you've got a paralysed rider on it, you're in a bit of trouble. They can't just go, oh, look, I seem to have stalled, or I seem to have broken down, I'll come to a stop and put my legs down. Oh, rubbish, I can't. Yeah, so you've got to make sure that the bikes, and sort of then we've had various people help with maintenance of the bikes, from Tim Blakemore down in Bristol, Chippenham Motorcycles. We had some help from James Holland as well, getting the bikes ready. So these businesses have all been really supportive. So you would have thought that a motorcycle manufacturer would have thought that this is good publicity and want to get involved. So I did.
I would have thought they'd be jumping.
I did last year start to write to some motorcycle manufacturers, and I'm proud to be British, and I thought that it would be a fantastic thing, as this is the first charity like this in the world. You've got great people doing things like NABD and MAG, and they're helping, but this is the first time that anyone's actually said, right, here is a bike and we're going to teach you how to get on it. And I just thought, wow, Britain leading the way, let's get British bikes involved, let's get Triumph involved. And I don't think they got past the line which says, this is the Bike Experience charity, before they sent me the standard letter back saying, we get lots of interest from charities and we're unable to help. It's like, well, I don't think you probably do, because this is the only charity like it. But I was sort of a little bit let down that they didn't take a little bit more of an interest. But
that Yeah, that is a shame.
And
I mean, the most...
it,
Sorry, go on,
this
yeah.
might hark back to the dark image of what we are, which is, the people...
Highlighting motorcycle accidents.
Yeah, this is people who've been paralysed or have lost limbs or whatever, because we the remit is to teach and advise disabled motorcyclists. So I've helped point amputees in the right direction, and quite often I point them in the direction of NAB, because if you're a below knee amputee, then you don't need massive amounts of adaptations to a motorbike.
No.
And also if you're an arm amputee, then there are certain different things that you might need, and I'm not a specialist in that, but I do know someone who is a regular rider as an arm amputee, so I move them on to that person. And so that way we can help as many disabled riders as possible. I mean, one of the things we are hoping, and it's not set in stone, but we would really, really like to help this guy who is still recovering from his injuries. But I saw him last year at Headley Court. He's a triple amputee, and he wants to get back on a bike. And that would be amazing if we can get back on a bike.
Do you see something like that as a challenge, and you go, wow, triple amputee?
Yeah.
Right. How are we going to do this? By God, I'm going to do this.
I don't think it's actually that difficult to get...
Sorry, I'm not necessarily talking about the technical side of getting a triple amputee on a bike. More about how you think. You've driven what I'm getting at here, Talon, is, you drive this thing along. You started this up because of what happened to you, and you are quite clearly the kind of person who, I'm humble before, because I'm not sitting for this. Sorry, I'm not sitting for this. I'm not sitting for this. I'm not going to do it, So when somebody comes along, triple amputee, I'm trying to think of triple amputee.
Easy.
How?
Easy.
How?
All right, you